Joining me now is Dr. Ricardo Rosselló, former governor of Puerto Rico and currently the congressional delegate. Thank you for being with us tonight. Governor, let's start with your reaction after hearing the remarks made about Puerto Rico at Donald Trump's rally.
Well, it was an impactful moment. It was egregious. I think a lot of people were shocked and stunned. And for a brief moment there, I thought that the whirlwind of those statements would span out not only to the Puerto Rican community, but also to the broader Latino community. You spoke about Pennsylvania and how almost 500,000 Puerto Ricans are there. I have the benefit and the honor of leading a bipartisan effort, Reverend, that is very akin to some of the causes you fought for civil rights, in this case for equality for Puerto Ricans and particularly statehood. In that, I have a pretty big spectrum of a focus group where I have folks on the right side and folks on the left. And what was the immediate outcome was the following. First, there are people that are stuck in their ways, both on the support for Vice President Harris and the support for President Trump. But there was a line in between, a meaningful line of people that were leaning towards President Trump that recanted their support, and people that might have some sympathy towards Vice President Harris, but weren't thinking about voting, and this ignited that effort. So I do think it had a significant impact. I do wonder, however, what happened afterwards with some of the comments made by President Biden and how those might have had an effect, contrary effect.
Now, high-profile celebrities from Puerto Rico and of Latino descent have come in defense of these comments, specifically superstars Bad Bunny and Ricky Martin, to name a few. In your view, what do you think galvanized Puerto Ricans so strongly about these comments?
Well, look, Puerto Ricans are proud U.S. citizens, as you're aware. We are 3 million strong in the island, but we are almost 6 million strong in the United States. We have the second largest per capita participation rate in the military. Many of our folks are patriots. They're given the utmost for their country. And so they felt disrespected. They felt disenfranchised, and they expect a response from the campaign. And there was a response, but they really expected a direct response from the president, as he's done in the past, talked about how much he's loved Puerto Ricans. But in this case, it hasn't manifested. It keeps on growing. And the question is, can this feeling that is there in a significant Puerto Rican community that can decide Pennsylvania, can it spread out to other battleground states? And can it spread out to the broader Latin American and Latino community?
Now, Trump has tried to claim he knows nothing about the comic at the rally, but when the comedian called Puerto Rico garbage, it came after several weeks of Trump repeatedly calling America the world's garbage can. And of course, the former president has been insulting other Latin communities for years, going back to the moment he launched his first presidential campaign calling Mexicans rapists and criminals. Do you think these comments coming in the final days of the campaign could sway some Latino voters who maybe were thinking about voting for Trump to pull the levers for Harris instead?
Absolutely. I see two main groups, Reverend. One is the group that was leaning towards Trump that is not necessarily now going to jump towards Harris, but may decide not to vote altogether. And then a group of Harris supporters, or likely Harris supporters, that was thinking of not voting. I mean, I can read you verbatim some of the texts that I receive. Some of them from known Republicans in our group. They said, I don't think I can vote for him right now until he says something about it. They said what what the hell was my party thinking? And some of them even said that they were voting for Trump, but they weren't going to do it. So it definitely has an impact. But I want to make the broader point that can get you only so far. I think there's an opportunity now to stress the issues that are important for the communities. Housing, for example, is an important area where the candidates can address. There are single issues that don't have to deal with complicated legislation that will allow, for example, taking out of receivership Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac so that you could reduce the interest rates and you could get more liquidity and get more affordable housing. I think Latinos are expecting that direct conversation. And I would say that, getting Vice President Harris with Governor Shapiro in the final days, super popular governor over there, and have him there every step of the way might make the difference.
And they want to hear substantive issues and policies raised. Let me ask you the last question. This story has brought new attention to Puerto Rico's complex status as a territory to the United States. I have long been an advocate for Puerto Rico and its people. Back in 2001, you might remember, I did 90 days, 3 months in jail, protesting the Navy's use of the Vieques Island as a bombing range. This election day, Puerto Ricans who live on the island will be voting on a non-binding referendum with 3 options for the future of the island: statehood, independence, or independence with free association. How do you think this controversy is influencing that decision?
I think people in Puerto Rico are very much entrenched on what they want. We've had 3 plebiscites in the past decade, all of which have gone towards statehood significantly. And we're going to have one in Tuesday as well. I expect the result to be similar, having statehood be the victor. And now what I caution and what I tell both candidates is this is one of the most, if not the most important issue for Puerto Ricans. If you want to help Puerto Rico, you need to resolve the underlying problems. You need to resolve the status issue. And I thank you for having gone and supported Puerto Rico as others have in the past as well.
All right. Thank you for being with us, Governor Ricardo Rossello. You certainly will be back, hopefully, in the near future. Up next.